Not long after releasing his most successful album to date, Yeat was at his lowest point. According to his diehard supporters, he had sold out, his former pals attempted to ban him for altering his sound, and because of all the criticism, he was relapsing behind the scenes. He even released a full-on Fury album later that year, in an attempt to win everyone back. However, it just made matters worse because fans deemed the endeavor to be his weakest to date. In 2025, however, he managed to entirely change the story from being done and washed to performing at festivals all over the world, releasing one of the year's biggest rap tracks, and reminding everyone why he's the only rapper to reach this point on SoundCloud in recent memory. That's why everyone adores the. To recap, though was at the height of his career in the beginning of 2024, after his and Drake's song, I Don't Give a F, became the #1 hit in the world. He had about 30 million monthly listeners. This now held great significance for him. His next album had to be a huge hit because of the amount of attention and buzz that surrounded his name following his outstanding performance on the song. The timing couldn't have been more ideal for going mainstream. Yeat's Endless Take, or Hall Red, had to be this. He will never again be able to generate this level of excitement around his name. In order to advance his career as a mainstream artist and establish himself as more than simply a TikTok meme rapper, he had a lot to prove. He himself will explain in an interview with O3 magazine how much of a difference in sound this album was when he releases 2093 on February 16, 2024. There seems to be a 10-album gap between the previous record and this one. People are clueless about how it will sound, like a gloomy society from 2093. No one truly believed Yeat could pull off a futuristic experimental album akin to Travis Scott's. Unlike his prior albums in which he was rapping on sad and Benny X rage sounds, in the end, 2093 would launch at #2 on the Billboard 200 albums list, with a very strong first week of 73K. However, the problem was that Yeat's fan base was torn in part by the album's extremely mixed reviews. The more lyrical cyberpunk vibe appealed to some listeners, but many OG the followers were disappointed that he had abandoned his previous sound, especially because it wasn't the original album that was scheduled to be released. On this Lyfestyle V1 project, the initially intended to release Lyfestyle, which fans call Lyfestyle V1 to avoid confusion with the actual Lyfestyle album that was published, Time Passed and Little Crazy were among the popular excerpts he was expected to release. Although there was never a clear explanation for why this project didn't succeed, I would venture that it was because Va was receiving a lot of backlash at the time for repeatedly releasing the same old Fury songs with Benny X, like the situation Ken Carson is in at the moment, dropping gritty, angry music all the time. Asterisk.
Some of this do sound repetitive. Okay. It don't matter though, man. I feel like he gonna evolve. Like once it come out, it's gonna be good, bro. These just snippets. He see what they fuck with, what not.
Some fans even went so far as to say that Yeat should resume using drugs in order to improve his music, which is quite crazy. And in case you were unaware, Yeat's 2093 was his first sober album, most of which was a description of his struggles with drugs. And it seems like Yeat was deeply affected by the criticism because he attempted to adopt his old look. Soon after 2093 was released, he would release a 2-track album titled King Tonka and Heavy Stunts on May 3rd. 2 of them were brand, but they didn't sound anything like the music from 2093. The situation was exacerbated by the fact that, despite his return to his previous geeka sound, it was different. Think about it. He was in a difficult situation. This angry voice did not go well with his new supporters, who he acquired from 2093. Additionally, his new songs don't have the same impact on his original followers who enjoy the anger sound. In an Instagram live sample, several admirers even saw that there was a line of sugar on the table, suggesting that Yeat was regrettably back on drugs, possibly as a result of the criticism from his own followers. Yeat's industry friends even started criticizing him for this. Fellow lost his fans when he started making that EDM can tweeted, "MF is now making another attempt to be a friend. Just kidding. When will you see that formula is a failure? Use black, then white music, and when MF isn't feeling it, return to black." Only Post Malone found success with it. That is all. It wasn't only QAnon either. As if everyone was turning against Yeat, Opium Ye's main rivals also began disparaging him. This was, to put it mildly, a challenging role in his career. Many of his followers and underground listeners in general were pressuring him to go back to his previous sound. Even though 2093 was a major hit with songs like If We're Being Real and Breathe being 2 of his biggest tracks with hundreds of millions of plays, The Wood then post on his Instagram story that he would be releasing 2 full-length albums this year in an effort to disprove everyone and prove that he was the best. And since Yeats released 3 albums in 2021, you are already aware of his work ethic, so that wasn't even shocking. In 2022, he released an EP, a deluxe edition, and an album. He's simply not built like that. So, let's go on to Yeat's Lyfestyle, which was published in October 2024 and featured artists including Summers, Lil Durk, Don Toliver, and Kodak Black. Yeat completely changed the record he released 8 months ago with the release of the Whole Anger project. this project also received a lot of mixed reviews, so it didn't turn out the way he had hoped, unquote. The quote, Yeat's return to the Fury style was welcomed by original fans, but it felt like a lesser, less exciting, and dumbed-down version of the original. This didn't pique the interest of his younger supporters, who genuinely liked 2093. I believe Anthony Fantano did a great job explaining things. Even though I know a lot of people dislike him, he seemed to regress.
And even though Lyfestyle here is coming out not that much long after, I still went into this project with high hopes. But I guess I should have known better, because if you are at all familiar with Yeat's catalog and trajectory, the title here most definitely signifies something: regression. It's funny because as successful as that album was, there was a very loud and vocal contingent of people in Yeat's fan base who wanted him to go back to a sound and a writing style that was more reminiscent of his records such as To Alive.
For me, the album Toy 93 had a far more intriguing sound. This album is alright for someone who discovered the On4L production suffers, and he lacks the energy to compensate. For Yeat standards, this endeavor truly felt like a step down. Beats that were repetitive since they used the same rhythms. Most of the songs were repeated. His flows were uninteresting, and there wasn't much variety overall. Because to its repetition, the majority of Yeat followers literally dubbed this project loop style. The more experimental pieces, such Gone for a Minute and Forever Again, were amazing. But there were also some fantastic songs, including Orchestrate and Be Quiet, and for Thee, That Is the Norm, he creates hits. Overall though, it was evident that he was less proud of this album than 2093, according to him. The entire project was completed in about 4 hours. Additionally, I believe he is aware that this album wasn't very good because he recently gave the project the finger in an Instagram story. What he meant by that is unclear to me. Additionally, the project did not do well in terms of numbers. You may initially think, wow, it sold 89K first week and debuted #1. However, if you really examine the data, he only made $29,000 from real streaming. The sold fewer copies of the remaining vinyls and merchandise bundles than his 2022 project, which was quite upsetting. Let's just say that Ye's career was at its most perplexing, if not at its lowest, moment. He released an experimental record and drastically changed his sound, but he has since essentially gone back in time. To appease his admirers, he has, as you can say, returned to his original style, although even they don't like it. What will Yeat do next is the question now. Can he get his hype back? Because the first week of the 29K seemed really concerning, and what kind of style is he even planning to adopt? Let's just say that Ye took the situation seriously as 2025 approached. Ye would ring the bell on April 18th, a fantastic track for a return, his usual sound of wrath, but with a twist. Interesting verses and entertaining ad-libs, the tune he was singing wasn't a repeat. In addition, the would be playing at Coachella shortly after with a massive inflatable 50-foot bell that was gradually regaining his aura by doing the proper things. We would receive another single in June, 3 months later. Like the bell, his old anger sounded new. First of all, despite producing many of Yeat's bigger songs, Benny X only appeared on the song once on his past 2 albums, which was strange. Second, the music was, once more, merely entertaining and fascinating. He would then play as the main act at other festivals during the summer, including Beach Please in Romania, where he played in front of 122,000 fans who were all familiar with the songs. The majority of fans had anticipated that Yeat would release another full-length album, A Dangerous Life. In 2025, however, Yeat chose to go in a different direction instead. Ultimately, in August, Yeat released A Dangerous Summer, a brief 11-track EP that featured his trademark violent rapping, in addition to some previously unheard material. He would begin the project with an old 2023 song called Billion, which was once a fan favorite, but with a new introduction. Ye probably included this here just to please the more seasoned fans, and to give the EP a dramatic start. However, we truly received a lot of fresh sounds for the remainder of the project. Songs like Come and Go, Growing Pains, Two-Tone, and Fly Night were slower, gentler, and more emotional, and they truly demonstrated how much Yeat had changed since his big break. Yeat incorporated his heavenly moaning into the beat's background in Loose Leaf. The experimental song, ADL, is coming teases the content of his upcoming album. This project was really outstanding, all around. Everyone appeared to enjoy it, and there was undoubtedly a song for everyone. Even if you didn't enjoy the whole thing because of the variety of sounds, for a surprise drop EP without a rollout, the project sold 34,000 copies in its first week, with 18,000 of those sales coming from actual streams. Come and Go, which is gradually becoming one of Ye's most popular songs, was the most remarkable aspect of this production. Nevertheless, with just under 50 million streams, Come and Go is currently his #1 song on Spotify, which is crazy considering it was only released 2 months ago. On October 17th, the song had its biggest day ever on Spotify, with 911,000 streams in a single day, surpassing songs like Nokia, Anxiety, and Dark Thoughts. This made it one of the most streamed rap songs released in 2025. I wouldn't be shocked if this song had 200 or even 300 million streams in a year or so. It's booming and expanding quickly. This song, in my opinion, is really significant for Ye since it demonstrates his permanence. He has had a number of hits with his 2093 style, his Fury style, and his brand new single, Come and Go, which is, I suppose, a combination of rapping and singing. This is the new age of a dangerous life. His versatility is very amazing. He isn't just another TikTok artist that gains popularity for a year or two before losing it. For many more years to come, he will remain and prosper. And Come and Go isn't the only thing that's taking off. Two of Ye's current high-profile tracks are Two Tone and Put It On God. However, Yeat wasn't finished despite just releasing a hugely successful project. He would make an appearance in Drake's Iceman Episode 3 a few weeks later, after which they would drop Doghouse with Julia Wolf. Personally, I wasn't expecting this song to be a smash. Julia's vocals were excellent. Drake had a catchy section. Although Yeat's verses was regrettably much too brief, it was nonetheless pleasant. Additionally, it continues to generate 200,000 streams every day. Perhaps it's one of those sluggish growers. Additionally, the would be performing with Drake for a week or two while in Europe for the Iceman video, and I should have definitely brought this up sooner. But I believe that Yeats' weight loss had a huge impact on his entire career comeback. As we've seen, Gunner's change was amazing and greatly improved his reputation, and I think Yeat is experiencing the same thing. He looked like one of those beer-bellied 40-year-old uncles after that go-to-work music video. However, a few months later, he is incredibly slender in sports tank tops throughout the summer. They tore him to shreds. Additionally, Yeat was extremely shy in the past, never appeared in public, and constantly covered his face with masks. However, he is now seen out and about every day with admirers and paparazzi. It's amazing how much he's changed as a person and how much he's evolved. I didn't anticipate it, personally. I believe that he would always remain this drug-addled underground SoundCloud artist. However, many of you might be wondering what Ye's next move is, since it appears that he has already completed everything. First of all, it appears that he is beginning to show the next generation a lot of love. He recently referred to UK musician SDK Kid as his evil twin during on tour in Australia. Furthermore, I'm not sure where you've been spending the last 3 months if you don't know who SDK Kid is. This guy has practically become more well-known than Yeat. 4 million people were listening to his first song each month when he released it a year ago. Additionally, he would co-sign Zucchini and Asamson, and shortly after, Zucchini and The would collaborate on a song for Ben X's album. Let's go on to A Dangerous Life, Yeat's next endeavor. Complex just interviewed Yeat, who will discuss his next album. This new age is more refined and careful. I'm actually adjusting the noises and the environment. Everything is being done by me. I continue to produce, mix, and master. And I'm far more willing to improve records. But every small echo and sound you hear in the song will always be me. He would go on to claim that he has been singing more and experimenting more with his production and ad-lib. After then, he would explain a DL. It's fresh. I'm constantly pushing the envelope and establishing the standard for how I want to change the sound. I'm not afraid to experiment with other sounds and step outside of my comfort zone. Sound-wise, you can't even describe it. Simply put, the music is good. Now that he is completely clean, Yeats is collaborating with new producers and creating new sounds, and it looks like a DL will be a masterpiece. I wouldn't be shocked if Drake or Justin Bieber appeared on his upcoming project. There are undoubtedly some strange aspects. Additionally, I think it's fascinating that you mentioned in this interview that, despite his followers' desire for the original sound, it will never return because it's always changing. Many of those followers enjoy it, since it's a cool niche product that only they are aware of. They therefore wish to maintain it that way, because they discovered it before everybody else. The original fans will feel protective and won't want anything to change. Even if